Hey guys, I've fixed a number of non-running small engines on lawnmowers and power washers, but this one gave me the most amount of trouble.
I just picked up this lawnmower for 20 bucks. This is a push lawnmower. It's from MTD manufacturer, branded as Yard Machines. It's got the Briggs and Stratton engine, 6.5 horsepower. It's in pretty good shape. I don't see any rust on the body. Tire treads still have good life left. Only problem is it's not starting. Not too bad. The problem is I see some oil here in the spark plug. I saw oil on the air filter as well. So I think he overfilled the oil. Actually, this is pretty clean. There's a lot of oil down here and there's oil down here. So engine is overfilled with oil. This is 5/16. Okay, there's a breather hose. It's connected here. The gasket stayed here. Pay attention to that. These are 3/8 for this fuel line. Just squeeze the clamp and move it down, and then use the screwdriver to kind of pry away. And then we're gonna have to disconnect this here, and after that, carburetor will come out. Get some rag to catch the fuel. The tank is almost empty, so it's just whatever's remaining in the fuel line and maybe a little bit in the carburetor. Okay, pull that out, and then disconnect this. All right, let me clean off. So this is 1/2 inch, but because of that rubber gasket, it won't let me use my socket. So I'm gonna use this. See these holes here? These are also jet. So I'm gonna clean this. Ah, look at that, the varnish buildup. So I'm gonna take this apart and clean this. Last time I used the pine saw to soak the carburetor. That was all varnished up, and it really helped to soften it and loosen it. So this one isn't as bad. The other one was super bad. So if this is all gunked up like this, I would imagine some of the small tiny holes in the carburetor is potentially all clogged as well, and that's why it's not starting. And the most important one is this jet here. So I'm gonna take a needle and poke through these small holes to make sure they're not clogged. And then I'm gonna soak it in the pine sol again. Last time I soaked it for a few hours. This time I don't think I need to soak that long. So while that's getting soaked, I got a small needle and I'm gonna soak this in here. And there's no magic, you just kind of poke in there. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but the tip of my needle is turning brown. So there is varnish filled up in here. Most likely it's this jet that's clogged, that's preventing the lawnmower from starting. So you got a hole here. So just go through it. I'm spinning around, trying to loosen up any gunk that's built up. Once this is clogged, you got no proper fuel delivery to the engine. I'm gonna actually let this soak in there. Wow, look at that. It's already starting to take out the varnish. In the past, I had bought the aftermarket carburetor, but I find the quality of the aftermarket carburetors are not very good at all. So unless you're gonna get the OEM replacement, I would think it's actually better to clean the OEM carburetor. And I think these varnishes build up more if you happen to use gasoline with ethanol. If you're gonna do a long-term storage, either drain the fuel or use fuel stabilizer so you don't have this issue. Okay, I'm gonna let that soak a little more. Take this out. And this pin, it should come out like that. I'm gonna clean the pin because if the pin is not clean, it may obstruct this float from freely moving up and down. Once you remove that, then this will come out. Just note that you got a little needle right here. Slides in and slide out. This one is in good shape. It's got the pointy edge. Everything's good. You want to clean this as well. You just want all the movement parts to not get stuck. We'll clean that. Then I'm just over cleaning here since I got the carburetor taken out. But the key is those tiny jet holes. That's what's gonna prevent the lawnmower from starting. Okay, there's a hole here. This one, I'm not sure if there's a hole that's going through. Hole here, that's a big hole, so it's unlikely it's gonna get clogged easily. I'm curious to know if there's a hole here. In the middle, there seems to be a hole, maybe. It's either clogged or my needle is too thick and it doesn't want to go through. I may have to find a thinner needle. Okay, here I see another hole in here. And inside there's a gasket here. Let me see if I can get that out. You can see the varnish buildup here as well. You gotta clean these holes too, because this is where the needle goes and it has to freely spin. Okay, there's a couple of holes in there. You want to make sure those are unclogged. So this is the choke, so make sure this area is all clean as well so it can freely spin. Of course, this is your main incoming fuel line, so make sure that's unclogged well. I'm going to take a little bit of sandpaper. Looks pretty clean now. Make sure this pin is clean. This looks like a minor detail, but if you don't get this cleaned and your float gets stuck or doesn't go all the way up or down, then you could have problems. So you want to completely clean it like this. Actually, if you're looking here very carefully, you can't see it in the video, but inside there's yet another very tiny hole. I think it's clean enough. Okay, I think it's fairly clean. Okay, so before we put this back on here, we're gonna have to install the float. So this ribbed edge will go inside. It's actually gonna be like this when it's installed, okay? So the float's gonna go up and down like this. So this flat edge will go to the bottom side. Now to do that, you got this needle pin. You wanna get this in there like that. Right now it's upside down, okay? So you wanna get the pin into that hole and then just slide this pin through the float. And check to see that the float is not getting stuck. This looks good right now. So then let's get the cover on there. This doesn't have to be super tight, just snug. I think that's enough. All right, now she's ready to go back on. So let's see how much oil. Actually, oil looks clean. They might have done the oil change and put too much. You see, that's the max right there. But the oil is filled up to here. So just gonna have to drain it. So I'm using a 2x4 here just to lift up the lawnmower a little bit higher when I drain the oil. Full mark is here, but it's still going above. So now it's right at the full mark. You see where the paper towel is getting wet? Wow, he put a lot of extra oil in there. All right, so if I put this back in, it's gonna clean the surface here a little bit, especially around the gasket here, so it doesn't create leak, and around the springs here. Okay, so let's see. So I'm gonna have to connect this first, and then connect that. Then let me connect the fuel line first. Connect the fuel line, move the clamp. Oh, that hurts. That clamp almost cut through my fingers. Okay, that in there. Get it hand tightened first. Alright, and then use the impact, lightly tighten it. Get this clamp back up. Okay. Remember I told you I see oil build up, so I'm gonna clean that. So after this, I'm gonna clean the spark plug and check the gap. Yeah, even in there, there's oil, and this is the breather coming out of the engine. So oil was flowing out through here and soaking the bottom here. The gasket is torn a little bit here. I don't have a gasket handy for this size, so let's see if that works. I'm gonna connect this the breather tube first, then we got one middle screw started. Well, don't over tighten these guys. Air filter back in. Line up the 3 tabs at the bottom. Okay, now next, let's check the spark plug. Carburetor is cleaned, spark plug is cleaned, oil was drained to the proper level, oil is clean. So I just put a little bit of gas and I'm ready to give it a start. Since the fuel was completely drained out of everywhere, it may take few pulls in the beginning. I'm gonna spray some starter fuel into the carburetor just to get it primed. Well, after last clean, it almost wanted to start, but didn't start. So I'm back out here again. If you look in here, you can't see it in the video, but inside there's actually even more tiny hole. And the last needle I had, it was pretty thin. I thought I had the thinnest, but that was actually a little bit thick and it was getting caught in that hole. So right now I can actually see, okay, you can see that needle going through there. Okay, before it was blocked. These carburetor, all these holes are so sensitive. You don't get them all unclogged, it just ain't going to run properly or start. So the other hole that I couldn't get it unclogged last time because of the thickness of the needle was this one. And this one, it wasn't going through all the way. In fact, even with this thin needle, it was still having trouble, so I had to kind of work at it. I was able to have it go through completely. And of course I hit all the tiny holes again. Every hole that looks like it's got to do with the flow of the gasoline. If you look in there, there's a rubber gasket inside there. You can't see it. It's like an orange color gasket, and there's a hole in the center. You have to also make sure that's unclogged. There's 2 holes in here, and one of them actually goes all the way through. And if you put it all the way through, you can see the needle coming through right there. So I think it's all good now. So let me put it back together. And one more thing, I just noticed the other carburetors, I didn't see a rubber gasket like this. I don't know if this was originally under or someone added. Since it was there, say it was there. But I'm noticing is if this is not done properly, that gasket will cover that hole, those 2 holes, which is critical. That's where the gas is gonna go in and it's gonna come out here and shoot upwards. So I gotta make sure it's in all the way. Okay, so I got the top all taken apart. The problem is there's so much oil that was put in. I think maybe 1 extra quart worth of it. It came out. Of course, it fouled the spark plug, air filter, carburetor, everywhere. But you can see there's just so much oil that had come out and coated everything here. So that was messed up. And This rotor here was all black, and so I had to take a 600 sandpaper and kind of sand it down smoothly. And it was just a very thick coat. The next thing, I clean the flywheel here. So next thing I gotta do is take this out and check the coil and look at the surface of the coil. I may have cleaned that surface as well. That oil. The other thing that I noticed is I took out the fuel, and I don't know if you can see it at the bottom there. There's also kind of an oily substance there. That might have been from the carburetor, I'm not sure. There's some debris and stuff in there as well. The gasoline should be a lot more clear than this, but it's kind of milky. Okay, so I just took off a couple bolts here. I don't know what size they are because the 1/4 inch and 7/32. Quarter is too big and 7/32 didn't fit, so I had to use a crescent wrench. But you can see here, I just took off some oil flakes here. You can see the surface here. It's all fouled up on both sides. I'm gonna try to clean the surface a little bit. I think with this wheel being all gummed up prior to me sanding it down, I think that may have prevented proper spark to occur. So surface is much more shinier, right? I sanded it down with 600 sandpaper, and then I took a alcohol cotton pad and cleaned the surface here and cleaned the surface there, and look how dirty it was. This is mostly oil. To get started, okay, you want to pump this a few times depending on how long it's been sitting. I just did a test start, so it started, so just gonna go 3-4 times.
To summarize, there were two main problems that triggered several side effects. First, the engine oil was overfilled and it contaminated everything from spark plug, air filter, engine to carburetor. Even the gasoline showed oily deposits. Second, the fuel left in the carburetor and they clogged all the tiny holes inside the carburetor, which prevented supplying fuel to the engine. These small engines rarely die, and most of the problems stem from leaving ethanol mixed fuel for more than 6 months to a year, and when gasoline evaporates, it leaves varnish deposits behind. Therefore, if you're not going to use the machine for a while, drain the fuel or add fuel stabilizer to avoid this problem. I hope this video helped. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.